This is Shashank. So I work as a software engineer at CBL Solutions. So currently I'm going to explain you how MuleSoft RPA helps us in recruitment process. So let me show you the business flow first. Like what are we automating? Okay. So in general, HR gets hundreds of profiles every day over email. So there might be some kind of job code, there might be some kind of subject, and also there might be some kind of attachments. So it is a very tedious job for any recruiter to go through each and every mail and analyze the profile. Okay. And also pre-screen that specific candidate and invite them for the first round of interview. Okay. So that's where MuleSoft RPA or the MuleSoft Automation Suite helps us. So in this specific demonstration, so I want to leverage RPA, MuleSoft RPA Composer, as well as the newly launched intelligent document processing. Um, so by using all these three automation suites, so we are going to showcase like how we can automate this entire pre-screening process so that candidate appears for the first level of interview. Okay. So now let me go into some technicalities. So this is what we call BPNM diagram. So business process diagram. So here what we are doing is, so first the RPA process kicks in. It logs into Outlook, which is the recruiter's inbox, and it will check for that specific job code which the recruiter is trying to automate. Okay, so let's say if it is for Java developer, then it search for the subject should consist of Java, and also it consists of a specific job code. So these specific things we will define. Okay, so once it logs into Outlook, it will check whether profiles are received for that specific job code or not. If profiles are received, then we are doing a transformations where we are pulling all those attachments and putting it into a centralized location. So once we put it in the centralized location, we are extracting that specific candidate data using intelligent document processing, which is the latest MuleSoft tool, AI tool. So which processes the documents, extracts the data as well. So once we get that specific extracted content. So what we are doing is, so it is a raw JSON format. So we will try to transform it and we'll try to extract the candidate names and emails. So here IDP plays a crucial role in also qualifying the candidate as well. Okay, so so this is the entire functionality. So again, this is not invoked by anybody. So that's where we leveraged MuleSoft Composer, which is the workflow automation tool, where it triggers the specific RPA process, extracts the data, takes the output of the RPA process, and then sends that specific email invite for the candidate to appear for the interview. Okay. So now let me show you how we have configured all this. So this is just like the skeleton. So the login part. So whatever the diagram that we have written here, so it's more of a skeleton. So we have to define the steps, or we have to define what is the application server, from where you have to extract the files, where you are storing it. So all these things you have to mention in the RPA builder, which is kind of like IDE to build the automation process. Let's wait for the RPA builder to load up. Meanwhile, I'll show you what all things that we have configured on IDP. Okay. So this is one of the document actions that I have created in order to qualify a specific candidate. Okay. So now let me showcase what all the prompts that I have written. So this is where the cool features comes into place. So if you see, I have created 6 prompts. Okay. So what is the email ID of the candidate? Okay, because we require that specific candidate email ID, right? So candidate skills should have Spring frameworks. So that means whenever a document or whenever you call the specific IDP, so with a specific document, so it will analyze that specific PDF and it will check for whether it has a Spring framework in that or not. Okay, so check if he is an ideal candidate. An ideal candidate should have Java programming language in his. So what is the phone number of the candidate? What is the name of the candidate? So here the prompt we have tweaked a little as IDP is still maturing. So that's where we have added it might be above address. So you can add a different prompt to retrieve the specific candidate name. Okay. So now you also mentioned the candidate should have at least worked on one or more projects. So these are the basic prompts which we have added. So let's say any document comes into this. So it will check for these prompts only if these prompts retrieve some kind of data with a threshold of 80%. So you can set the thresholds as well for any of the process. So if here I have mentioned the candidate should have at least worked on one or more projects. So confidence threshold is 80. So as per your resume, so it will try to analyze whether you have worked on one project or you have worked on more projects. Okay. So this is how the prompts are created. So you can tweak around, you can add more prompts, and you can also add, I mean, since this is a generic document, so by default, MuleSoft has given some kind of structure for invoice as well as the purchase order. So anything apart from this is categorized as generic, where you have to define certain prompts in order to analyze that specific PDF. Okay, so let's see. Yep, RPA builder is here. So this is my process. Let me expand this. Okay, so this is the first step. So in the first step, all I'm doing is I'm just adding a mail session and I'm reading a specific candidate email ID with whatever the recruiter email ID it is, inbox it is. So I have also defined activity parameters here. So what is the activity? I mean, activity parameters are nothing but the variables which you would be using across your entire RPA process. So here I have defined all the variables which I have to pass it dynamically for the whenever it is required in the RPA process. So here I'm reading that specific candidate emails and I'm also downloading that specific attachments. So if you see, I'm downloading here in the HR PDFs. And again, I'm checking for this specific subject. Only if it has this specific subject, it will download it, or else it will not even consider that profile. Okay. So, and again, I'm checking if the specific number of candidates so is greater than zero or not. So if it is not equal to zero, only then go to the positive solution. If it is zero, that means no profile was received with that specific code, then stop that specific RPA process. Okay. So once you do that, then you are putting it in a centralized location where you are iteratively going in through each file and moving it to a single folder for us to feed it to IDP. So the next step is extracting candidate data. So this is where we are using IDP connectors. So on the right side, if you see, there are IDP connectors. Okay, here. So you first I'm submitting that specific document. So whatever the resumes that we have collected until now, so we are putting it in a centralized location and we are feeding that specific centralized location as the input for IDP. Okay, using this specific step, which is the submit document to IDP. Once you submit that specific document to IDP, then you are waiting for 1 minute because IDP sometimes responds in 10 seconds, sometimes it responds in 30 seconds, depending upon your document. So we are assuming to have a sleep time of at least a minute. Okay, so I'm sleeping that I'm sleeping the specific process for 1 minute. Okay. Afterwards, I'm retrieving the results from MuleSoft IDP. So once the document is processed by IDP, so you also need that specific document. Okay. I'm storing that specific document in a variable and also writing it to a file just for my logging purpose. So what was the output that I got from the IDP? Okay. So once I get this specific data, right, then I'm doing some kind of transformations where I'm storing the candidate email ID as well as the candidate name, because that's what all I need for the candidate I mean, for setting up the level one of interview. Okay. So this is the entire process. Right from logging into Outlook, extracting the data from IDP, and also transforming the data to feed it to the composer. Now, what we'll do is we'll try to invoke that specific composer flow. Before we do it, I need to publish my RPA process to production. Only then I'll be able to invoke it through composer. Let me do that quickly. Okay, so it is published to test. Let me publish it to production. So again, your RPA process has to go through multiple phases. I don't want to cover all the basics here, but this is what once you move it to production, right? So that means any other outside invocable configuration can invoke the specific bot. Okay. So this is my composer process. Again, composer flow, which is hiring orchestration. So all it does is it is a scheduled base. So let's say you want to run it 15 minutes once, or you want to run it 1 hour, 30 minutes. So you have options here. Okay. So the second step would be triggering your specific RPA bot. Okay. So this is my RPA process name. So I'll provide RPA process as well as how I want to use this output. So do I want to use it in the same flow or pull the response from another flow? That means you are taking input from another flow for the specific RPA bot. Okay. So here we want to use it in the same flow. That's why I've used use response in the same flow. And then we are iterating that specific response. So currently names and emails, I'm sending it as a comma separated string. But when I'm feeding it to a Graph API, which I'm using to send emails to the candidate, so it has to be an array of comma separated values. So that's where I'm using a split by function here in order to split that specific success response. Okay. Once I do it, I'm iterating through individual email list. Okay. Because you will get an array and you want to iterate that array in for each. So I'm using error handling here wherever error occurs. So just stop that specific flow. Okay. That's what my intention is. So once you iterate over the email list, so here I have my specific Graph API. So I have configured the Graph API. I have created the connection, HTTP connection, and I have provided all the values that are required. So here I'm passing it as you are shortlisted. Please let us know the available time for the interview. Okay. So again, all the list, whatever you want to put it down. So it comes from the dynamic value. As we can see here, there is a test option here. Either you can activate it so that it runs as per your scheduled time, or you can do a simple test. So this is more like unit testing it. So let me just click on test. You can see here there is a test option here. Either you can activate it so that it runs as per your scheduled time, or you can do a simple test. So this is more like unit testing it. So let me just click on test. So it will take some time because we have enabled the RPA process to be triggered. Like it has a sleep time of 1 minute. So approximately it will take around like 70 to 80 seconds in order to send an email for each candidate. Okay. So this is post qualifying through IDP as per whatever the thresholds we have set. So as you can see, the status is now changed as processing. So that means it goes through each and every step that you have added here. It's still processing. So let's give some more time for it to complete. Yep. So as you can see, the test finished and it got succeeded. So let me see if I got that specific invite or not. Yeah. So if you can see, it came to my specific email ID where it was saying as shortlisted for Java position. And these were the text that I got, which I have configured in the app composer. So this is the entire process where you have